something going anyway. The most important thing. Two, two, two. Two, 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 two. Two, two. Two, 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 two. Two, 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 two. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 222. So 222. Yeah. I'll have you on these, John. I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll get you sorted, okay? 22222. Two 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 two. Okay.
He doesn't have a. What age man? He doesn't have a job like a 9-to-5 job.
No, it's a he's doing journalist work maybe.
222.
I'm not sure now. He's maybe sure, but I don't think he.
That's what I'll do. I'll put you here. That's okay.
Okay.
All right. And we put our guest there. Beside you, John. Okay. So you'll be able to interrogate up close.
We have no sheet. Yeah. We have a sheet.
We have a sheet.
We have a sheet.
We should be
We'd be accused of.
Rita is going to teach us up. She's going to talk around before the school and they have to, the obligation they have to be open there.
You have the news?
Yes.
Okay. I'll send you in Queen of School.
So
10 minutes.
It's a bit small.
We're going to be depending on you to fill in on
Well, to kind of start us off, give us.
Once you get going, let's get going anyway. Then talk about it.
Do it. Well, when Pat says, "How's it going, Ollie?" that'll be.
Anyway, it's kind of.
Yeah, going to stop you. My grandson was bouncing on top of me at 6 o'clock.
Oh,
Aged. The grandson is.
He's aged almost 4. He's 3 3/4.
He has energy.
He has more energy than I have.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've Sean McMahon, producer, Vale of Belvoir.
Yes.
John McMahon, the bit of it,
I mean, I got them from Pat.
Out the Gap, Jigs,
Yeah.
John Torpey, Joe McHugh.
Yeah, Joseph McHugh, yeah.
Is there a fourth one?
There should be. I sent it separately.
Are they coming in?
No, we'll just someone. And
Oh, the gap.
I asked the company to send them available, the classes of settlers and the available, you know.
Yeah.
We just didn't go for the.
I wouldn't be those CDs not back because I go away with them again.
You might think there are something you might think of it.
I have your.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, I brought it with me.
I'm going to give a CD one time of the back sticks, the Taylor House and the back sticks. Someone asked me for the Taylor. The 50 years or something.
Okay.
The Taylor House and the back sticks, I remember one time.
Yes.
I think I get a little copy of it. I said maybe we could put it on. There's another program, so you have to get on condition to do it.
Yes.
For the man CD, you know.
Yes, I will root it out.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. You might find it. Someone asked me for the Taylor.
But he hasn't lost it anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Can you find it? It's a question.
Yeah, very decent. Yeah.
This was kind of this in money for a studio here in the Mills.
Yeah.
You know, and it's his grand little room.
Lucas, quiet. I had you in mind.
Lucas, concentrated.
I'm trying to turn off the audio for the logging. Or maybe I'll just shut it down because it's coming back. It's coming back at me.
Yes.
Let's see how we figure it out.
See,
be able to tell you now. It could be downstairs too. I'm sure there's one down there.
Sean McMahon.
That's the Vale of Belfire. And John Torpy, then Joseph McHugh.
There was a beautiful valley below me, many miles spreading over the vale. With its fine wood so neat and so handsome, entwined with wire fine and bright. No wonder the shelter bought Reiner in the beautiful vale of Belfire.
Plan B, I think. I might have down.
As I stood on the
Do you want them on a memory stick right now?
mountain,
Because I have them on my laptop.
what was it caused me to stand? It was surely
What's the first one you want to play? Or when will be the first one you want to play?
with its mantle
I suppose after the Gardaí win.
over the land.
Yeah.
Should I thought if a poet were beside me,
Do you want my memory stick? No.
No.
You give me Ryan Bushell's Quinton or No, 086, yeah. 85, yeah. 77, yeah. 873. That's what Declan sent me.
About 4 minutes, boys.
4 minutes. And falling.
Hi, Brian, Luke here. How are you? Good. Good. I said, the covers might be shit enough over here now, so
Caribou Brian's group are live on BBC tonight at 8.
Oh, aren't they?
Glastonbury.
Yes. Yeah, I was looking at Glastonbury last night. What's her? Caribou.
Caribou, yeah.
As in the Canadian
As in
deer.
Canadian, yeah.
He's not too happy about the idea of.
I give you an indication. He's worried about the neighbour,
Yes.
you know. He's worried about radiation. He's worried about the idea of permanency. You know. And he doesn't want to fall foul about the guy next door.
Yes. Well, that's fair enough.
And he's very sorry.
Yeah.
Brian will be talking to you about bogus tradesmen, and there's also some centenary celebrations for our show of idiots in Killaloe in July.
Okay.
So that, and one burger in Killaloe, so that's generally what we'll be talking about.
One brother.
There's a commemoration of 100 years of the Gardaí.
Yeah, and there's shit going on nationally, so probably have another fucking away from it. And only a load of PR bollocks.
What guard is on? No.
Brian Quinn.
Thank you very much. It's a lovely. I know Christy McNamara well.
Yeah, Christy.
Well, our-
Actually, we didn't meet Christy at all. We were hoping we'd meet him, and we didn't get to meet him at the fair at all.
Yeah,
And yeah, Christy is nice fella.
very nice.
Plays music as well.
You know.
Yeah, Black Six of course next to transit sessions.
Yeah. I know Christy quite well.
Yeah.
Okay, minute and a half, lads.
It'd be nice to have a chat with somebody.
Yeah, indeed, it would. Anyway, Pat. Not spill the cup.
I'll give you these. Sorry. No, you work away, John.
Yes.
We could mention some things, just fairs, fancy hill as well.
Oh, we can, yeah.
You know, just the tribute next week,
Yeah.
next Sunday at 1 o'clock. You can all hear each other? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fair amount of hollow sound.
Yeah, this is the room we're in, John. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
This thing was.
it might be too bad here. We was downstairs.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's an echo downstairs. It's terrible echo.
We put carpet on the wall here.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Again, John?
Can you hear me?
I can. It is the 25th. 20 seconds. 15. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1.
Good morning. You're listening to Scariff Bay Community Radio, and this is Saturday Chronicle on the 25th of June 2022. My name is Jim Collins, and this morning I am here with my friends and colleagues, John S. Kelly. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Jim. And a lovely windy morning in O'Callaghan's Mills.
It isn't a bit summery. That was your first comment when we met this morning, John.
Yeah.
And we have joining us as well this morning for Saturday Chronicle is Pat O'Brien. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Jim.
And one of the reasons Pat is joining us this morning, John, is that we are doing an outside broadcast and we're here in the community centre in O'Callaghan's Mills. So it's a fine place here.
It is actually, yeah. Nothing happening here besides ourselves today.
I don't think so, John. No, we have it all to ourselves today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in a lovely upstairs room here in the community centre. There's singing going on there in the background.
Under the table, I wonder who is there.
Well, we'll figure it out as we go on. But we're delighted this morning to be here in O'Callaghan's Mills, and we'll be meeting a number of people from locally here and from around and about. And I'm looking forward to the morning.
So am I, yeah. We have some interesting guests. Will we tell them who we're going to have this morning?
I don't mind. You can tell them, or you can keep it as a surprise, John. Whatever.
Which is better, do you think? I mean, they're in the kitchens now listening throughout East Clara. Well, we have Joe Cooney, haven't we?
Yes. Local man here.
A local man who is reaching. Do they call it retirement or do they call it postponement?
I don't think Joe is retiring exactly.
No, I think he's just stepping back.
Just stepping back a little bit.
Anyway.
And then we have, of course, Noel McNamara. Now,
A local man made good.
Made good. Very interesting character.
Very looking forward to talking to Noel. Rugby background.
Indeed, yeah. And then, of course, Rita. Now, you know Rita McInerney, don't you, Jim?
Yes, well, Rita is local here as well.
Yeah.
And Rita is connected with the St. Joseph's Secondary School in Tulla. So, and they have had a great year.
Haven't they? So we'll be talking to her. And what about Orla?
Ollie
Burns.
Yes, Ollie has been is a prolific writer. Pat, you know him better than the rest of us.
Yeah, I know Ollie well. Yeah, he's written a number of sports books, and his latest one was on Jimmy Smith. So he'd probably give a bit of a talk on Jimmy Smith, a bit more than his book on Jimmy Smith. But his other ones as well. He done all the captains that captain Clare, all the hurling captains from the start right up to the present day.
You had a few of them from the middle.
We had 10, John. We can be boasting about 10 captains from the middle. And we had the last one, which was Paddy Donlan in 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
And he did a book on the history of hurling in St. Flannan's as well. So
He did, yeah. And,
great.
yeah, and I think in some books on even on soccer and around in us, football and soccer. And I think he was doing actually one on the CBS as well, his series.
Yeah.
And some of Innis, around Innis, even the leagues in Innis and all that.
A prolific writer.
Yeah.
Anyway, he'll
There you are, Jim.
he'll tell us when he comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with the news headlines this morning for the weekend of the 25th and 26th of June. Do you know someone who may be an undocumented migrant? If so, they can apply for a legal status now. Applications for the new government undocumented scheme are open until the 31st of July. To check your eligibility and get support to apply, visit the website mrci.ie. The Cycle for Autism Committee are inviting you to join this year's Ultimate Cycle Challenge. Just cycle 10 kilometres a day for 8 days and raise money for autism. You could change the lives of thousands of autistic people. Registration closes on the 3rd of July, so don't delay and register today. cycleforautism.co.uk. Jack and Jill Children's Foundation are inviting people to do the 5K My Way for Jack and Jill this summer with friends and family in aid of their charity. It started on the 16th of June and goes on until the 22nd of July to raise funds for the sick children in communities across Ireland. Check the Facebook page or the website jackandjill.ie. The Féile Brian Boru Festival, and I'm looking forward to this now, really am, will take place from the 6th to the 10th of July 2022 in the beautiful twin towns of Pillaloo and Ballina. The annual 5-day festival will have a varied programme of events with something to suit everyone. So be sure to check the website for all information, and that's féilebrianboru.com. The Great East Clare Hill Challenge will take place on Saturday the 9th of July. It will start at 2 Mile Gate, Killaloe at 8 o'clock in the morning and finish at the 12 o'clock Hills Belvoir Car Park. It's a 30-mile hike and is only suitable for experienced hikers such as Pat O'Brien.
Indeed, yeah.
Register online on the 12 o'clock Hills Facebook page. Scariff Further Education Campus are accepting applications for full and part-time courses commencing in early September. For further information, go to www.collegeoffet.ie/Scariff, or, maybe easier, drop in when passing. A taster day for core elements of the Steiner education will take place on the 9th of July in Tuamgraney. The course is for teachers in Steiner schools who want to do training in Steiner education. East Clare Community Co-op are hosting kids yoga afternoons of summer fun. They'll be on in July the 5th and the 19th and in August the 2nd, 16th and 30th. It's for 4 to 10-year-olds and will cost €15 per child. Booking is essential. CLDC practical training for the control of Japanese knotweed will take place on Wednesday the 13th of July in Mount Shannon Community Hall from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Training is for private landowners or community members. To find out more information, please email Jerry McDonough from CLDC at gmcdonough@cldc.ie. And I gather with knotweed, it isn't just a matter of cutting it out and...
No, clipping it off and leaving the root in. It's a serious bit of business. Have you come across any of it at all?
I haven't, no. I wouldn't recognise it now if I saw
You wouldn't? Did you? Yeah. And what action did you take?
Well, you know what action I took? And it seems to have worked. I got a big heap of the black plastic and just put it on over it and just shooting out.
Yeah.
And it kept the air away from it, and it stopped it from growing.
So it's still visible though, is it?
No, well,
have you covered completely?
I've covered over and I leave it that way and see will it kill it off.
I don't know if it will, you know.
Yeah.
It's very invasive. Jim.
There is companies that take it out, because there was somewhere out here at the back when they were putting the storage for redoing the storage for the school.
Yeah.
and they had to get a company in to take it out and
Is
dig it all out and take out the roots and burn it.
Is it cool if you just cut it and leave it? It only encourages.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
If you want to see evidence of what a plant of that ilk can do to a landscape, visit Achill Island, and the plant known as gonorrhea, it's all over the island now.
Yeah.
In waterways and they've county council have tried to eliminate it, but just 2 inches of a slip and it's off again.
It's off.
It's awful stuff. So you of course, Pat, you'll be contacting that man that Jim referred to there, won't you? See, and they'd look after it.
I think they have some other way of injecting some of a chemical into the shoot as well.
Anyway, Michael McNamara TD has criticised the government for excluding up to 20% of farmland in County Clare from the 55 million fodder support scheme. He said, under the scheme, farmers in Category 1 areas of natural constraint, that's ANC, land, will not be eligible to receive up to €1,000 to make hay or silage. This will come as a terrible blow to these farmers who are already under immense pressure due to the rising cost of fertiliser and fuel. The Scariff Harbour Festival will return from July the 29th to the 31st and is set to be a major highlight on the county's festival calendar. It promises to be a lively weekend that will showcase the rich heritage and culture of the area. Check the Facebook page. Water Safety Ireland, the Irish Coast Guard and the RNLI have issued a joint appeal calling for caution at waterways nationwide. The appeal aims to reduce summer drownings and come as figures released for the National Water Safety Awareness Week show that 79 people drowned in 2021, which is 3 more than 2020. Mount Shannon Celtic Soccer Summer Camp is back for children between 6 and 14 years of age. Every year, boys and girls enjoy the 5 days of fun and football
at the Summer Soccer Camp. It will take place from the 1st to the 5th of August at Craven's Fosslake Scariff. For more information, check the website summersoccerschools.ie. Clare students have been urged to consider an accountancy apprenticeship programme which will create 140 jobs nationally this year. Applications are now open for the Accounting Technicians Ireland apprenticeship based in colleges in Cork, Dublin, Galway, Limerick, Monaghan, Waterford and Wicklow. Clean Coast's 13th annual Love Your Coast photography competition has officially opened for entries. The competition asks for amateur photographers to capture and celebrate the uniqueness of our coastal communities and waterways. So for details, visit the website cleancoast.org. The people of Clare were asked to get involved with the global celebration of World Ocean Day and help Clean Coast to clean up beaches again this year. Over 200 volunteers collected over a ton of litter at the 10 clean-up events held both on land and by the Clare coast to prevent litter pollution ending up in the ocean. So look up the cleancoast.org website. A special occasion was celebrated at East Clare Golf Club in recent weeks when a special member, Una McElhenney,
celebrated her 90th birthday. The celebrations commenced with a party held in the golf club where Una was joined by family and friends. Followed the next day by a family scramble. Una is a fantastic role model for the young ladies of the club as she continues to take part in the weekly scramble on a Wednesday morning. Mount Shannon Arts are still entertaining us and are inviting everyone to a concert in St. Cayman's Church of Ireland on Saturday the 2nd of July at 8 p.m. to listen to Rufus Nightjar and Mamab's Broke. Very talented ladies who are on tour of the UK and Ireland at the moment. They're well worth to listen to. So book your tickets on mountshannonarts.ie. And finally, Clare County Council are giving notice of a proposed temporary road closure on the R352 from Trumgraney to Ballynahinch Cross. It's for a period of 4 days from Monday the 11th of July to Thursday the 14th of July inclusive, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to facilitate overlay works at Callahy in Trumgraney. Well, that's the news headlines. Tune into the main news, and that's at 12:30, when we will have an update on these stories and some music. News headlines are compiled by Ursula Hogan and read by myself, Jim Collins. So thank you for listening and stay safe. So that's the news headlines today. Loads happening, and do remember that road closure between on the Scariff-Tulla Road, or between Scariff and Ballynahinch, from the 11th to the 14th of July. So,
I'm amazed, Jim, at the amount of social activities that are here every weekend
every
we're
week.
reporting on.
yeah. Okay, I think we're joined on the line now for the East Clare Garda Focus slot by Garda Brian Quinn. Brian, good morning to you.
Morning, Jim. How are you keeping?
Very well, thank you. The sun is actually beginning to shine, Brian. We're here in O'Callaghan's Mills in the community centre, and the sun is kind of coming in through the window now for the first time today. So things are looking good.
Hope it lasts now, Jim.
Yeah. How are
Well,
things?
it's misting here in Scariff, so it just depends on which patch of Clare you're in, I think.
Now, the fine weather is on its way to Scariff. How are things in the Garda world, Brian?
Not too bad. I'll just start off with, we had just had 2 incidents this week that I'd just like to put out to the public. The first one was on, so it would be Thursday morning going into Friday, so we'll say the 24th of the 6th. It would be in the early hours of the morning around 1:30. The West Lake Cafe there at 2 Mile Gate. 2 males attempted to gain entry. Now, they were caught on CCTV, but if anyone was passing, i.e. passing the area, saw vehicles on suspicious or had dash cam footage, would be very helpful. It's just on Thursday, the 24th, around 1:30 in the morning, West Lake Cafe in 2 Mile Gate. And if anyone around that area saw anything suspicious, just get onto the guards in Killaloo.
Okay.
Other one, a bit more local, the Scariff, would be the stand in the Bodyke GAA pitch was damaged with graffiti on the same night, the 24th. I think the 24th, the morning of into the morning of Friday. It was sprayed up high now. I have to go up and have a look and take photos at the moment, but apparently the roof was sprayed up very high, which is about 20 feet up. So it took a bit of effort to do the damage. If anyone knows anything about that or saw anyone in the area hanging around, just to give myself here in Scariff a buzz. If they have any details at all, it would be greatly appreciated.
Brian, could I, John S.
You can.
Yeah. Can I ask you, we have no history whatsoever of graffiti in the East Clare area that stands out in my memory. Do we have a history of that?
Oh, yeah. We have, we had, at one stage there, I think it was about a year ago, we had one young lad, and he was putting a specific tag around public buildings in Mount Shannon, not so much in Scariff, but in the Mount Shannon Whitegate area. Now, he was caught, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do not. It's not a usual thing that we do deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But it has happened in the past. Now, they have been caught in the past, but this one stands out from where the graffiti was done. It wasn't done low down. That would be very accessible. Done high up in the stand, which is.
And this is in what we call the evicted field, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, you would call it. Yeah, I'm trying to think there. You call it that, all right?
Yeah.
It's just one that stood out there. I'm going to up to meet the groundsman up there now in a few minutes. But if anyone knows anything about that, it has been posted on Facebook on the Bodyke GA page. And if anyone wants to have a look at it, they may note one of the drawings, one of the tags that they've seen somewhere else, or seen sometimes the tags that they use on buildings and property can also be worn on clothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or on books, or drawn on their own bags and stuff like that. So it may be something that you'd look at it and you go, actually, I've seen that before somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That can greatly help. As more members of the public that have eyes on it, the better, basically.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. Other two things I wanted to talk about was, one was bogus tradesmen. Now, they've kind of upped their game a bit, not just posting on Dundee or calling to houses. Now, just to be aware of Facebook pages. They can create these Facebook community pages looking for work. They seem extremely above board, the whole lot. They take payment, but then they shut down the page and close it off after taking the money. So just don't be handing over money before jobs are done, or before you've actually met the person that come to the house.
Absolutely.
And you know what I mean? Paying stuff online prior to someone calling is not a good idea. But just the fact that they're now using Facebook community pages, they look extremely legitimate. But you just do your homework before handing over any money, especially if you're meeting someone online like that. Other thing was, we'd just like to congratulate all the students finishing up their Leaving Cert this year. This weekend and next week, they'll all be finishing up, really. And just that if they are going out, to stay safe. Know where you're going. Let someone know where you're going. Don't, if you're underage, don't be drinking. If you're overage for drinking, just use your head. Take it easy. It's one night out. There's going to be many more, so just mind yourselves, and congratulations. The other thing then was, on the 10th of July, they're having a centenary celebration on Sunday the 10th in Killaloo Garda Station. Now, they will be having an open day between 1 and 4, and they'll have a kind of a tour of the memorabilia and refreshments in Killaloo Garda Station. If anyone wants to visit, they'll have the Killaloo Fire and Rescue, Killaloo Coast Guard, National Ambulance Service, and the Midwest Blood Bites and Civil Defence, all at the Garda Station and around the Green in Killaloo.
That's Sunday week. Is that Sunday week, Brian?
That's July the 10th. So if that's Sunday week, July the 10th would be... we're now
2 weeks. It's
2 weeks.
We've worked it out here at the table.
Yeah, I just looked at the calendar myself.
Yeah, it is. It's 2 weeks. That should be a very interesting experience.
Yeah, they're quite nice now, especially when all the services are there.
Yeah. And
they will have old stuff as well, memorabilia and things like that.
And this is the 100th
exactly
anniversary of the founding of the Garda Síochána, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. That's this. So it's between 1 and 4 and the Green in Killaloo on Sunday the 10th, if anyone's interested in going.
Very good. Very good.
Okay.
That's perfect. Okay, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Loads happening there, and hopefully people will respond in relation to the burglary in 2 Mile Gate and the graffiti in the evicted in Tumgraney. Okay, Brian.
It was surely as I stood upon Glenwald's Blow Mountain, all alone with my back to the gale. There was a beautiful valley below me, many miles spreading over the vale, with its fine wood so neat and so handsome, entwined with wild woodbine and briar. No wonder the shelter bold Reinard in the beautiful vale of Belvoir. As I stood on that blue rugged mountain, oh, what was it caused me to stand? It was surely the beauty of nature, with its mantle spread over the land. Sure, I thought if a poet were beside me, the scenery would surely inspire, for to sing a love song on the mountain to the beautiful vale of Belvoir. Oh, that vale with fine lakes is well dotted, where bright gentle brooks therein grow, in obedience to nature and duty, perpetually onwards they flow. In the heart of that vale there's a mansion, a painter no doubt would admire, and beside it there's a neat little chapel in the beautiful vale of Belvoir. From the forge sounds the smith's bell toned anvil, as the sparks they fly out from the fire, and the birds in the wood sing melodious, as if all it belonged to one choir. Oh, the people are jovial and hearty in their homesteads by night and by day. In their homespuns they dress on a Sunday. To Kilkishen they go for to pray. And all the young men and young maidens from around Ballycullen's tall spire assemble for singing and dancing in the beautiful vale of Belvoir. So goodbye to that blue rugged mountain, goodbye to the valley below, and if ever I want recreation, it's to that lovely vale I would go. Sure, I know in these isle vales are larger for poets to describe and admire, but there's no place in Ireland more charming than the beautiful vale of Belvoir.
Okay, lovely song there.
Isn't it?
Sean McMahon. Pat, tell us about Sean McMahon. He's a local man.
Well, Sean has passed away, actually. Rest in peace. And,
yes.
He was a great singer, and he brought out a few CDs, and that's one of the songs on his CDs. He was great. He used to attend traditional sessions and anywhere there'd be singing nights in pubs and things, and he was a fantastic singer. And all the McMahon family were all very musical. There was a big family of them, and they were all
musicians.
They were very much into traditional music and singing. Yeah.
Well, we have our first guest here this morning, John, and it's not a...
Do you know this man sitting opposite us? Huh?
I feel strange kind of welcoming this man to O'Callaghan's Mills. It should be the other way around.
Absolutely.
But our first guest this morning is Joe Cooney. Joe, great to see you. You're very welcome.
Good morning, Jim and John. You're very welcome to O'Callaghan's.
Thank you
there
very
you are.
And I'm sure both of you have been here on a number of occasions.
We have.
Yeah.
You hadn't to get the Google map to get over.
No, we did not. Word went around this morning. We were talking here like Joe is retiring.
He is.
But not really retiring, Joe. You're finishing up your current stint at the moment. Tell us what you have been for the last 12 months.
Well, you definitely said I'm not retiring at the moment anyway, Jim, and hopefully there'll be a few more years before I do decide to retire.
Exactly.
But anyway, look, at really my stint for the last 12 months, Jim, was the Cathaoirleach of the Killaloo Municipal District, as we call it for short, the Killaloo MD.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is, as you're well aware, there's 5 local councillors in the Killaloo MD, and there'll be a chairperson for each year. That's the way we've shared out, and the reason we've shared out that way is we're power sharing in Clare County Council, the same as with the council AGM yesterday, where we also elected a new Cathaoirleach for the county. And as it works out, that Cathaoirleach is a member of the Killaloo MD as well, which is Councillor Tony O'Brien. So he'll be taking over Cathaoirleach of the county for the next 12 months. And he's replaced Councillor PJ Ryan, who was the Cathaoirleach for the past 12 months. But we'll come back to the MD. I was the Cathaoirleach for the past 12 months. My term finished up yesterday. We have our AGM at municipal district level as well, and the new Cathaoirleach goes in at the AGM, and the new Cathaoirleach from yesterday, the 24th of June, until the end of June 2023 is Councillor Alan O'Callaghan.
Yeah.
So we're really sharing the Cathaoirleachs each year for the 5 years. It works out fantastic with us in the Killaloo MD because we have 5 councillors, there's 5 years, and each councillor get their opportunity to be Cathaoirleach of the Killaloo MD. So my term finished up yesterday, and I really enjoyed my 12 months as the Cathaoirleach of the Killaloo MD. And what's meant by the Cathaoirleach is, of the Killaloo MD, that person organise meetings, run meetings, and works with council officials for the next 12 months in order to have a smooth running of issues, meetings and concerns in the Killaloo MDG.
And I suppose, Joe, you meet the 5 councillors from the Killaloo area meet regularly to discuss affairs in the Killaloo area and various issues that come up, and I suppose to try and make all of you together making progress on the various problems that arise.
Correct, Jim. We have 6 official meetings in the 12 months, a meeting every 2 months, where the 5 councillors and the council officials in the Killaloo MD, Longish, our director, who is Anne Hawk, who's Director of Services in Clare County Council, also our Killaloo MD, she attended the meetings as well, and any concerns, issues out there, concerns out there, yes, we'll get on to our manager, who is Morgan Laharv. He'll be our senior man in the Killaloo MD, and he'd arrange a special meeting if they were required, and that will be done by the Cathaoirleach of the Killaloo MD as their term progresses.
Yeah.
Joe, I have a question. A friend of mine, knowing that you were coming on this morning on the radio, said, would you how did he get into politics at all? Because you're closely associated with the party known as Fine Gael. No. How did you get into
I suppose it's a very good question, John. It went back to, I'd say, 2003. I was preparing to go to bed one night, and a knock came to my front door. And 2 men from this parish arrived at the front door. Oh, God Almighty, I said to myself, what's wrong these 2 men?
You should have gone to bed, Joe.
And they said, can we go in and talk to you for a few minutes? God, I said, no problem whatsoever.
Taristach?
Tavistock. We went into the sitting room, we sat down, and I was still wondering what these 2 men going to ask me. And those 2 men, I have no problem saying here today who them 2 men were. One of them was Matthew McMahon, as you know very well, and the second one was Tommy McGrath. So, of course, we talked about farming, we talked about hurling, but they weren't coming to the point. So I suppose they were kind of sizing me up as well, John, and they eventually came to the point to know would I give consideration running for the council. And to be honest with you, it was never in my head before that.
Ever?
Never.
And were you from what I would call a political house?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say a political house. Lord have mercy, my father, he has been, I wouldn't say involved, but maybe a support with Fine Gael, maybe, and would pay at Fine Gael collections and things like that. But I never saw him collecting at the Fine Gael table or that. And really, I suppose, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil that time, I suppose you had a lot more banter going on that time than what you have now. Maybe, as I've said earlier on, there's a lot of power sharing going on now, which in my belief is better for the county, better for the country as well, in fairness. But that's really where it all developed from. I give it consideration. I suppose those two people felt maybe a council around locally might be help to the local area and that, and the catchment area, and they came back, of course, naturally enough, they told me they'd be back again, and they did come back a week.
And they've been coming back ever since, have they?
Well, I suppose it's the other way around, maybe I'm going to them ever since. But I must say, that's probably almost 20 years ago now, 2003, and I really, really enjoyed it. And actually here today, I have no problem saying, I'm delighted they came to my door, and I don't regret 1 minute.
Isn't that, Jim? Isn't that a lovely way of summing that aspect of your life? But that's only a small part of your life. I mean, our listeners will know that Joe Cooney was chairman of the county board for a period of time. How many years were you in?
Now, as regards that, I was actually, as Pat O'Brien here beside me, I was very involved in the club between our own O'Callaghan's Mills club, between manager and mentor of different underage teams and adult teams. I was very involved in the administration side of it. I was club secretary and club chairman for a number of years. And when I actually finished up club chairman, Pat, what year would that have been? I actually went in vice chairperson of Clare County Board the following year. And I done 5 years as vice chairperson of Clare County Board and 5 years as chairperson of Clare GA, we'll call it now.
Did you do any farm work? And you're also a contractor. I mean, what are they saying at home? And all this involvement.
Because there's a lot of involvement, but when you enjoy it, you really look forward to doing it. And I don't do any farm work now. I'm not a farmer, and I don't get involved in the farming side of it. But as you're all well aware, I do a lot of construction work.
You do?
I do, and I really enjoy doing the construction work. And we have a lot of work on at the moment, and always have work on. There's always this. He said there's work going on, and I heard Garda Quinn talking about the bogus tradesmen, and that's desperate altogether. And we all know it's gone hard to get tradespeople at the moment. Labour is difficult to get, and I feel sorry for those people with these bogus tradespeople that's going on. And I be warning people here this morning as well to be very, very careful, because unfortunately that clientele is out there as well that want to do people, and we all hate to see people being done. If they get a decent job done, naturally enough they pay for it and move on, but to pay money and get no job done is desperate.
And is that happening in East Clare?
Not that I'm aware of much now, to be honest with you, but in fairness to Garda Quinn there, he did mention about there's people going around doing it, or bogus tradesmen as he called them, going around doing it, unfortunately. And again, I'd be warning people to be careful.
And tell me, with regard to the gap in supply of tradespeople, how do you feel about the new process for apprenticeships? Do you know, are you okay with the?
I am, and it's simply fantastic, and it's something Councillor Gabriel Keaton and myself have been pushing for the last number of years, and I'm delighted the steps been taken in order to try and get the young people back into trades. And we all know trades have moved on, as we're well aware. If people goes to college, they don't probably want to go back out into the buildings. But really, an apprenticeship is college as well.
It is. And that's the thinking that has got to start dominating that.
And I think myself, in the secondary schools, that we'll have to try and encourage young people. Maybe, okay, let them go to college, but let them go to college taking up a trade, like be carpentry, electrical, plumbing, whatever the case may be, because there's great conditions there now compared to what was in the past.
Yeah.
And maybe some young people are frightened of maybe working out on a building site over the winter months. There's no need to be frightened whatsoever. Conditions are very good. There's no one has to go out and work in rain, hail, and snow, and that thing. And as I say, a trade is a fantastic thing to have going forward, and we're all well aware of what tradesmen have achieved back along the years. And I would be encouraging young people to give it consideration. I was down in St. Anne's School there about 2 weeks ago. There was a minister down there doing a talk with the children, 4th years and 5th years. There was about maybe give or take 60 students in the room where the discussion was going on. But he asked different questions about what they were going to do when they finished the leaving. And he asked, first of all, how many was going to take up an apprenticeship, and not one put up their hand. Then he asked about going to college and so many in third level and whatever. But no one whatsoever put up their hand to say they'd like to go into a trade, do apprenticeship. And as he called it, it's also going to third level college and apprenticeship.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I suppose it's something that's only going to slowly change over time. I mean, there's been too much of a push towards the academic side of things and not enough towards the apprenticeship, in going back decades probably.
Correct. If we go back 20 years ago, I suppose half of the young fellas, they came out after doing the leave, and if they went as far as doing the leave and went on to building sites and took up a trade or worked as labourers, and then developed into taking up a trade and doing their apprenticeship, and they came flaking workers and made good money in that. But like what you said, unfortunately, gradually we'll have to try and change it back again to encourage young people, both male and female now, in fairness, and to go to see that young girls and young ladies are getting the opportunity to take up a trade as well, and that's very, very important. It is,
You mentioned there a moment ago, just John referred to the fact that you were chairman of the Clare County Board for the 5 years. Were you surprised during the week when Pat Fitzgerald announced that he was going to step down?
Look, I was surprised, and there's no point saying I wasn't surprised. But again, we must all acknowledge the work that Pat Fitzgerald has done for Clare GA over the past 32 years. And it might have him there for the 5 years as the chairperson. I was very, very involved with him. And I do know that there was days, and that man probably could have put in 14, 15 hours before he got finished. It's a tough job, in fairness, and there's no point saying it's not. There's a lot of administration for a county secretary, and there's no point saying it's not. But again, like myself, Pat Fitzgerald enjoyed doing it. He really, really put his heart and soul into it for both the clubs and Clare GA. And again, look, all I can acknowledge, I say here this morning, is I compliment him on the fantastic job he done. I suppose there comes a day we all have to move on. You were talking about retiring me at the start of the programme. But again, Pat can be very proud of what he has achieved in his 32 years. And I remember back in before 95, and people that passed away before us were wondering, are we ever going to see Clare winning in All Ireland? And in fairness, a lot has been achieved. But Pat had a lot of people around him as well, officers around him and coaches and trainers, and these things don't happen overnight. But I was surprised that he did announce his retirement. I thought he might see it out till the end of the year, but hopefully before he goes that we may have another All Ireland in the bag, and that's all we can hope for. And I want to wish Pat the very best of luck in his retirement.
Okay, Joe.
Yep.
And I suppose, going back to the Killaloe Municipal District, there are a number of kind of irons in the fire, so to speak, a number of developments that, I know you've all been working on, we'll say, of interest. The Killaloe bypass is one. Holy Island is another. The whole thing about should Clare County Council have representation on Shannon Group. What things are going to keep you busy over the next 12 months?
Well, first of all, I must say that we've 5 excellent councillors here in the Killaloe MD that work very hard for the people and the area of Killaloe MD. And like what you have to say there, Jim, there's a number of issues we're working on at the moment. And we be hoping they're progressing, and they are progressing. The Killaloe Bridge crossing and bypass is one of the big ones. long as a number of other ones will go through. That has progressed. There's almost 50 million funding approved for that project. But unfortunately, a winter tender sometime late last year, around August, September, John Siskin's son got the contract. But we're all well aware of the inflation that has happened since they got the contract. And unfortunately, that has delayed commencement, because it was hoped the work would start about March, April of 2022. But we're all well aware now we're moving into July and it hadn't commenced. And we're not sure, because to the question I even asked during the week, had we any date of update on what's happening, and the answer I got was no at the moment. But again, if things can be sorted out as regards the inflation side of it, we would be still hopeful the work would commence in 2022 on that project, which is vital to Clare and the Midwest region.
Yeah.
And as regards going back to the other projects, we're also well aware, Holy Island in Ishcaltra, there's great progress going on there. And again, we're at the stage of applying for funding to further progress that project, which again is vital to tourism in East Clare. There was a number of other projects, and one very important one that has happened over the last 12 months, and one I've worked very hard on to try and achieve, is the pilot scheme for the wastewater treatment plant in Brawford.
Oh, yes.
And that one now has been a tough one for the last, since I got elected to the council nearly back in 2004, we're hearing about this. It was on the agenda, then it dropped off the agenda, but now with the minister's announcements of these pilot schemes for throughout the country, we'd be hopeful that Brawford will get included in that. An application has been made now, has to be made to the department to get included in that pilot scheme. That goes to the department, they'll assess it, and if they feel then there's merit in it to include it in the pilot scheme, yes, we'd be hopeful it would be included, and with lobbying from our Oireachtas members.
And Joe, I'm just thinking, for our listeners' point of view, they'll wonder, some of them won't be au fait with what the Bradford story, but essentially we're talking about a wastewater project in Bradford to facilitate the further development of the village. Isn't that right? What it boils down to?
That's correct.
I mean, Bradford is only 20 minutes out from Limerick City, the ideal commuter village. Shannon is very close, we've talked about it before. And Bradford simply cannot hold on to its existing services unless the wastewater is provided for the village. Isn't that the story?
Is actually essential for Bradford.
Yeah.
But John, just to come in there, to be honest with you, with the environment and the criteria that's there now, every rural village by right should have their wastewater treatment system in place. But unfortunately, we're all well aware the funds are not there from Irish Water to do that at the moment. There is actually 10 other settlements in the Killaloo that don't have a public wastewater system.
Really?
There is, 10 other settlements, including our own village here, O'Callaghan's Mills, Budai, Bridgetown, Flagmount, O'Gunallow, villages like that. And that is actually a setback in the present day. Before they were putting in maybe a treatment unit and building 8 or 10 houses, like what was done here in O'Callaghan's Mills in the 70s, when we got 12 RHO houses up here, and they had a separate treatment unit in for the 12 houses, but unfortunately them treatment units are gone by their sell by date because of maintaining, who maintains them afterwards, and now there's a public system needed in each village, and hopefully the Bradford will get their treatment plant in the near future, and when Bradford have theirs got, we'll be moving into another area in the Killaloo MD and trying to start progressing that village, whatever village will decide. And it'd be great if the councils could decide the next village to move to, instead of trying to look for 10 together, try and make progress one at a time, and that's what we hope to achieve. But at the moment, we're totally focused in on the Bradford one.
Yeah.
Okay. The Shannon Group as well, and Shannon Airport, and it's great to see a fairly large increase in flights and in people, passengers going through the airport. There has been a discussion about whether a representative from the Clare County Council should be on the board of the Shannon Group, and I think the chairman of the Shannon Group was not in favour of the idea. What's your own view of how Shannon is doing generally and how we might progress forward?
I suppose, Jim, to go back to number of years ago, before the pandemic struck, we actually had a council meeting held down in the Shannon in the airport. And it was frightening down there that there wasn't a sign of a plane going in and out. We spent the Monday evening down there from probably 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And we were very, very concerned. Things didn't really progress too much after that. Then the pandemic hit, and then there was a full stop altogether. Then we're well aware of what happened with the chairpersons of the Shannon Group, as you've mentioned there. But now there's a new chairperson in there, Conal Henry. And we had a briefing from him in the council chamber a number of weeks ago, and I was impressed by him. But my honest belief is, the question you asked me, should there be a member from Clare County Council part of that group? Yes, there should be. And I'd be saying the chief executive should be that person. That'd be my view. Other people might have different views, and he should be part of it, because Shannon Airport is vital to the Midwest, and I've been saying that the whole time. And if we don't have a good, viable airport, we are not going to get businesses into the Midwest region. So it's important, and very, very important, that someone from Clare County Council should be a member of that group.
Fair enough, and that's putting it fair and square, I suppose.
It is really, Jim, yeah.
Okay, Joe, listen.
There's one other thing. There's a lot of concern about seeing them talking to 2 Scariff men here today. Parking in the town of Scariff has become a major problem. And I have a lot of business people very concerned over there that their businesses might suffer because of the lack of parking. We are working on it. We did think now over the last couple of years we had an area where we could have used for a car park. That's on the Fetal Road, where the council now have gone, unfortunately, they have changed plans there, and they've gone for a housing development, which is going to the department at this stage, to the department at this stage for final improvement for 18 apartments in that area grounds as you go out to Fetal Road.
On the left-hand side.
Before the Mart.
Yeah.
It was hoped that a car park could have been fitted in there as well along in that development, but with the nature of the ground, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
As you're well aware, the RDDA funding that was approved for the town of Scariff as regards car park in the hub, the square and that, as to what was going to be upgraded and that, the car parking was part of it. But that is going to take a bit of time. That funding is ready to put a plan in place, acquire property and whatever, and move forward. So the car parking is a big issue. It's something we're working on. As I say, we are concerned that businesses will suffer if parking isn't put in place in Scariff, and it's something that we're really going to work on over the next 12 months. You asked about what we'll be doing over the next 12 months, Jim, but that's one of my main priorities, is to try and get something sorted as regards parking in the town of Scariff.
That's good.
Okay, Joe, listen, it's been great talking to you. We could keep going for another half an hour. But we have a few other guests coming in as well. Listen, many thanks. Great to come down here to O'Callaghan's Mills and talk to yourself, and good luck in your, I won't call it retirement or anything like that, but over the next year, because I know you'll be working hard for East Clare.
And you're always welcome to O'Callaghan's Mills.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks very much, Joe.
Bye then.
Thanks a lot. And that was Joe.
Come all ye young fellas who travel the land in search of the crack with guitar in your hand. Go down to Liscannor in the county of Clare. You'll find a pub in it that's ever so rare. Go into McHugh's shop, the centre of town. You'll get a warm welcome from Joe Chalkatown. The one-legged canary will sing how do you do in the 7-day licence of Joseph McHugh. You'll meet men from Mahor, Listone and Greneen. judges from Lahinch and an odd beauty queen. A tinker from Kerry drops in for a glass, a box of rat poison and oats for his ass. Just rolls up the bar like a captain on deck. He don't tip his cap and he don't give a wreck. If you're Irish or Spanish or Russian or Jew, you'll get a warm welcome from Joseph McHugh. The shop is well stocked for all comers to see, with brushes and buckets, balloons and whiskey. Bullseyes, licorice, all sorts displayed in glass jars, and an outer space suit just imported from Mars. There's onions set stacked in a bag and some rope, a picture of Joe shaking hands with the Pope. He's our parish priest, that's the truth, I'll tell you, declares the Clare publican Joseph McHugh. He sells streaky bacon all covered with salt to ward off blue bottles from making a halt. And he has cups for coursing, some say that's not fair. Liscannor is famous for chasing the hare. He's a bachelor gay on the market, I hear. He may make a move by the end of the year, but if the greyhound has pups, you can say toodaloo, for he'll never get married, this Joseph McHugh. So there you have it, the song I declare about the small pub in the sweet County Clare, where time has stood still and the old life remains. They laugh at computers and mad college brains. So if you're in trouble, find yourself in a jam, want to buy for a greyhound or a half-pound of ham, you can do a lot worse, the truth I'll tell you, than call on Liscannor and Joseph McHugh. Skiddery idlum daddly daddly do.
Oh, that's marvellous, yeah, diddly ID.
John Torpy.
John Torpy.
John Torpy, Joseph
Hardly
McHugh.
maker.
Hardly maker.
And from the mills as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The bamboo hurlers.
The bamboo. Yeah. Have you ever hit a ball with one? The bamboo hurley.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, a lot of inter-county players are using them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
They'll have to pick up the buyback. Yeah. What do you call
The
that?
ash dieback.
Yeah,
Yeah, dieback, yeah. Listen. Anyway, Jim, we have our second guest for the morning, the redoubtable Noel McNamara of Silvergrove. Now, to listeners this morning, Silvergrove sounds like a place in exotic.
Well, I'm sure it is, John.
We're actually close enough, aren't we, Pat, to Silvergrove?
Oh, yeah.
We're here.
She's only over the road.
And this young gentleman here in front of us, Noel McNamara.
It's close to Bedike. Bedike crowd might be claiming it.
Borderline, yeah.
Borderline, yeah.
Anyway, Noel, you're very, very welcome. You're
Thanks
on
very much.
holidays. People will say, where's he on holidays from? Where did he go? That it merits, a discussion on that. Well, Noel is better known outside of East Clare as a very, what's the word I'd use?
Successful.
Successful young coach. He's nearly too young, Jim, to be.
He is. Yeah.
To be coaching. He should be playing still. By the way, do you play rugby still?
No.
Anyway,
yeah.
my first memory of you is as the coach of the Irish under 20, under
20s, yeah.
The under 20s, yeah. And it was a very successful run, wasn't it, really? How did you get into it?
Yeah, I suppose the 20s, success at underage level is a very interesting metric, and it's difficult at times to really quantify it. I did 3 years at the Irish 20s. My first year, in terms of results, we didn't have a huge amount of success. But, I think if you look at the touring squad of New Zealand, there's a huge transfer through of players on that squad. The likes of James Hume, Caelan Doris, Tom O'Toole, to name a few, and guys that are injured, unfortunately, they weren't able to make it, like Ronan Kelleher. Dan Sheehan is on that tour. Tommy O'Brien of Leinster recently, unfortunately, got injured. So I think with underage groups, the success is measured over a longer period of time. My second year, we had a lot of success on the pitch, and obviously, won the Six Nations in 2019. But I think ultimately the definition of success has to be measured over a longer period of time. And
but I intrude on that, actually.
Yeah.
The parallel that strikes me as I listen to you is the GAA minors, county minors in Clare or in football and hurling, doesn't make any difference. But there is not a good follow, and traditionally there was not a good follow from minor into senior. Guys commit themselves, and we do, I suppose, but especially in hurling and football, commit themselves up to the age of 18 and 19. And people will be saying, God, he's going to be a mighty corner forward in the seniors. Don't hear of him. Have you experienced that type of disappointment where you had personalities who thought were going to make it big time?
Yeah,
and they died out after 19.
I think you've probably highlighted the exact problem there. I think anointing somebody too early is probably one of the biggest sins that we commit with underage players, and it's understanding people, it's understanding development, it's understanding, I guess, that the differentiator for some people at a young age is physicality. It's a physical presence, and they're bigger, and their maturation is earlier than some other people, and it's I suppose recognizing that once you get to senior level, that's gone. So the physical advantages, unless you're Jonah Lomu or maybe Eben Etzebeth or someone like that, where you still are the biggest and the strongest, and that point of difference is gone. So ultimately, it's about the players that have had a rounded development. It's about the players that have developed their skill set. It's about the players that it's hard. Yeah. It's hard when you get to senior level. It's hard as you get older. The level of competition obviously rises. The pressure increases. The distractions also increase as you get older. So it takes a certain type of temperament. It takes a certain type of character. And I guess that's something that we would probably have delved into quite a bit with our age grade programs and working with Leinster, and recognising that it's not just capability at a certain age, it's capacity to work hard, it's capacity and room for improvement, it's character, it's how you respond under pressure, how you deal with setbacks, it's resilience, how you deal with injury, how you deal with distraction.
Yeah.
And I guess I would firmly believe those three things. Capability is important. You must be good at what you do. You must have domain excellence. But that capability, that character, and that capacity, those three things, I suppose, ultimately for me, are a better predictor of long-term success. And that's. I talk to people. You mentioned the hurling and the football. There's a guy here in Clare, Kieran McDermott, who does great things with the underage setup, and I've spoken to him, quite a bit about this. And for me, it's about defining success. If you've got an under 14 group with Clare, and you've got 60 players, well then one of the key definitions of success is, do you have the same 60 guys at under 15? Because you could beat everybody at under 14 level. You could beat Tipperary, and you could beat Cork, and you could beat Limerick. And if you turn around next year and you only have 10 of them because they really didn't enjoy it, well, then that's failure. And I'll be very, very clear on that.
I come in on that one. The sense of social enjoyment in sport, I get, looking in from outside now, I get it's very different to what it was when we were young players ourselves. Okay, the social side seems to have diminished. Am I fingering anything that's relevant?
I think at the core of it, at the core of sport, it must be fun. And even when you get right up to professional sport, the best example I can give you, I coached Ruan Paynar this year. Ruan Paynar is 37 years of age. He's won the World Cup. He's played for Ulster. He's played for Montpellier. He's back at the Cheetahs, and he came to us on a short-term loan. And the thing that really struck me about Ruan Paynar, and I can give other examples as well, was how much he loved training. He loved it. You see him before training, after training. The S&C coaches are trying to pull him out. Oh, you don't need to do this. You're an experienced player. And no, I want to do it.
What's an S&C coach?
Strength and conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to train. I want to compete in everything. And I could cite Johnny example as another, and I'm sure all of the best will be the same. They want to compete and they love doing what they do. And I smile at the moment with some of the guys that are going on the golf. The guys that are going across to the LIV tour, and someone like Dustin Johnson. I said, I don't really love playing golf, and I said, well, it's no coincidence you haven't made the most of all the talent that you have. And they're looking at it. Well, I'll go across here, I'll make a few quid, and I'll retire early, and so on. Whereas somebody that I can't imagine a young Tiger Woods doing that.
Or even McIlroy.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I think he's a good example of somebody who probably wants to make the absolute most of what he can and win as many majors as he can. And I think that ultimately... And that comes back to character. I think you've got that character to want to compete at the very highest level. You've got that character where you want to be the best possible version of yourself. And to me, I guess there comes a certain level of competition where talent is no longer the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think up to minor level, if we go back to where this strand of conversation originated, I think at minor level, and I think bringing minor back to under 17. And I don't know enough about it, but for me, that's too young. In my opinion, I would be much happier with keeping things as broad as possible for as long as possible to be as good as possible. Would be the philosophy that I would have had at Leinster. We would have had collectively at Leinster.
What would have influenced you into that frame of mind?
I guess I just experienced a lot of underage sport. I started coaching in Glenstall back in 2005. So we're probably looking at almost 20 years ago now. So I saw a lot of and coached and lived it. So from an early age, I guess there would have been a point when. When I started coaching in Clongowes, where I coached the Clongowes senior team, I coached the Leinster schools, and I coached the Irish schools. So I just would have seen an awful lot of young players and their development and how it went. And I guess I'm very curious as well, and would be a keen student of whatever I do. Some people could call it obsessive, and that's probably a fair assessment. But
would your wife? Would she?
I'm probably seeing it in my kids now as well a little bit when. They won't let something go. It tends to get blamed on me.
Tell me, how did the South African side of things come about? Because you were with the under-20s and underage coaching with Leinster.
Yeah, listen. I guess in many ways the number of opportunities globally are quite small in professional sport, and in rugby, we were talking here a few minutes ago, rugby is only a professional game since the mid-90s. So, it is growing globally, but ultimately at the top level, within Ireland, there's 4 teams, and then you've got the senior team as well. So, an opportunity came up, and I guess for me, the attraction was multifaceted. The attraction was, fundamentally, I believe sport and coaching and teaching is about people and experiencing a different culture. There are a few places as multicultural as South Africa, and I guess somewhere like the Sharks has always been an open-minded team, an open-minded franchise. They've had coaches like John Plumtree from New Zealand has coached over there. He was the head coach, and they've had a lot of players as well. People like Clement Poitrenaud, Gregor Townsend, believe it or not, played over there. Andy Good played there as well. Freddie Michalak. So it's always been a place, I think, where people have been welcomed, and I just guess there was just an opportunity to work with some really good players as well, and experience Springboks, and it just all added up, I suppose, to something that found difficult to turn down. And
from your own point of view, do you find, are there new ways of doing things? Are there different ways of doing things over there? I presume, they want you to bring something, but I mean, presumably you can learn something as well when you go over there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the biggest challenge with coaching. You can't copy and paste, and it's trying to identify the best of different environments and trying to understand what will work. We spoke about the Irish 20s already. The second year was very different from the first year, and the third year was very different from the second year, because ultimately what worked at one group, there's no guarantee that it's going to work again. And I think that, when you look at coaching and you look at the best coaches, they've all been able to adapt. They've all had that. You look at Alex Ferguson Ferguson over a long period of time having the ability to adapt and change with the groups. Coaching someone like Mark Hughes and then coaching Cristiano Ronaldo, like they couldn't be further apart from each other. So I think it's pretty important to be able to adapt, to be able to recognise the strengths and challenges of particular people in a particular group. So yeah, that definitely would have been the mindset going over there. You mentioned that, like, you're definitely right. There isn't more than one way of doing things, and I guess that's the beauty of sport. You look at the last two winners of the Premiership in England. Harlequins won it last year, where they're an absolute all-out attacking team. And this year Leicester won it, and I think they kicked the ball 56 times in the final. Yes. So, remarkably different approaches to the same game, same referees, same laws, and I think that's the beauty of it, really. And you can take the example of hurling as well. Very different styles of play going to be seen over the course of the next few weeks in the semi-finals as well.
And tell me, outside of the world of rugby altogether, how did you find going and living in South Africa over the last couple of years? I mean, it must be very different to Dublin, or certainly to O'Callaghan's Mill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're not too worried about die back in the ash over there. I guess, when you move, they say there's traumatic times in your life, and big changes, and obviously moving is a big change, and particularly when you move, I guess not just country but hemisphere as well. So yeah, it was a massive change, and at a time when the world is probably in a little bit of chaos, and Natal in particular was in a little bit of chaos. That they obviously had a lot of unrest at the time when we moved, with the riots and things like that, and obviously in the midst of COVID, we've recently had the floods as well. So, but the reality is we went, it was very open, very welcoming. My wife and I've 3 kids. They've all moved over as well. A slightly different lifestyle. We're in the midst of summer here. I think it's about 12 degrees today and raining. I spoke to Sinead this morning. They're in the midst of winter and it's 27 degrees, and then they're in shorts and a t-shirt. So, from that perspective, very outdoors. It's been good for the kids. I think they're at a good stage. Hopefully it will increase their resilience. It will certainly increase their understanding of the world. And it is a country that has vast differences. In terms of what people have. We've been out around a little bit, and sometimes understanding that, we've seen the happiest of kids and the happiest of families playing, and they live in very, very basic conditions. And, happiness isn't defined by having the latest iPhone or the latest laptop or the latest whatever. And I think those type of lessons, if the girls can take them, then it's a fantastic grounding for them moving forward in life as well. So, yeah, it's not just about a job, but I do believe it is a great life experience as well, that's for me, but also for the family as well.
Yeah.
And Noel, just going back there to the underage again, would there be a lot of players coming up? Would there be a lot of them made to get into the academies now in Leinster and Munster? And the fellas that you coached at school level, would they be anxious to get on to professional contracts and all that kind of stuff? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, Pat. I think when the pathway is there, it becomes more accessible, and this is something that fundamentally I would believe, quite strongly in. So, if you're in school and if there's a guy that's 2 years ahead of you and he goes on and plays for Leinster and gets into the academy and plays for Ireland, and then all of a sudden it isn't as difficult. Yeah. It becomes easier, and there's a fantastic book called The Gold Mine Effect, and it talks about a Kenyan athlete who was a steeplechase runner, and he'd never been outside of Kenya, but he ran and obviously trained at a really good level all the time, and he went to a Golden League meeting in Brussels, and he won it, smashed it, absolutely destroyed the field in the 3,000 metre steeplechase. And he was interviewed afterwards, and he was asked, how could you do this? And he said, oh well, my cousin Richard had done it before.
Yeah.
Wasn't a big deal. It's like winning an All-Ireland in Kerry back in the day. You know, I've two. Well, the guy below the cross is 5, so get over yourself. And all of a sudden, it just becomes a little bit more accessible, I think. And once people can see that pathway, so you'd have guys in school, and the question, oh God, there's so many guys from Blackrock, or there's so many guys from Michael. So all of a sudden, it becomes common, and then the goal becomes really common. We want to win, and I don't think it's any coincidence. The 2019 team won a Six Nations Grand Slam. Well, then, you listen to the group this year, they're saying, well, we saw them win it.
Yeah, I would.
He was a couple of years ahead of me. Why can't we win it? I'm looking at a book here in front of me with Tulla winning the Harty Cup. If you're in first year in Tulla now, you think it's normal.
Yeah.
You think it's normal for people to win a Harty Cup. So therefore, your ambition becomes, well, these guys won it.
Actually,
I see that guy at Mass every Sunday, so there's no reason why I can't win it.
In fact, I'm thinking of another O'Callaghan's Mills man who fits into the kind of type you're talking about. John Walsh, okay, who was an ex-British Army officer and teacher, and very interested in athletics. And he reached a stage of teaching in the College Beyond in Scariff with us, and he had concentrated on the javelin, the discus, and the hammer. Okay. And he started training kids from first year. Fairly quickly, we established ourselves as a major school for the discus. It reached a point where John Welch had coached probably 6 gold medal winners in the discus and hammer. It became, just as you said, kids came into first year, couldn't wait to get out with this John Welch, okay? Yeah. And so he continued right up to his end. Tell me, is there a type of personality that's identifiable that you want to get your hands on? Okay, you know what I'm getting?
Yeah, the reality with rugby is, I suppose, it is pretty open-ended in terms of the characteristics that you would look for physically. The reality is somebody 6'10" can play, and somebody that's 5'8" can play. So I think that physical, obviously they do fit in different positions, fit into a certain physical profile.
Yeah.
The reality in terms of personality, a lot of it is capacity for work. It's capacity to work hard. It's having a mindset to continuously improve.
They're transferable to other activities in life, aren't they?
100%. Well, listen, I started coaching in Clongowes, and I coached the senior team there for 8 years, and there was an amazing correlation between the guys who were on the senior panel, the senior rugby panel, and those who did well in their leaving cert. And one of the reasons was because what was the requirement to be on the panel was work hard, discipline, learning to prioritise, learning to say no at times to things, the reality was, and we did it. We investigated over a long period of time, over the entire 8 years, and consistently, being on that senior panel, and we would talk about it as well. For me, it's not. I think I said it already. It's not about being a rugby player. It's people. And you're coaching people. You're involved with people, and you want to. Them to be able to transfer it, because you can't just flick a switch on you're going to play on a Saturday and you say to guys, okay, I want you to be disciplined, I want you to work hard for each other. You haven't done that all week, so you have to live it. You have to live it to be it. So that's definitely a major factor as well.
And Noel, just going back to the professional when it started in the mid-90s, there's players that have an awful lot of time off. We'll say, would they train twice a day? Do you know how? The mindset of how players train and play.
Go through. Yeah, like I guess there's a regular week. We would train on a Monday. Boys would be in from 7 o'clock. There's a lot of rehab and things like that. I guess getting the body right and recovery and all that stuff. They'd then be in the gym. We'd have meetings, probably 2 meetings. Then there is a pitch session, and the pitch session is 60 minutes, and then you do unit session straight afterwards, another 20 minutes, and they finish generally around 4 o'clock. So it's a 7 to 4. I think people have this idea that sometimes a professional team come in and they do half an hour and they train for an hour and they're gone. So it's a full day. Tuesday would be pretty similar. Wednesday tends to be a personal development day, so a lot of boys, depending on their age and depending on their position, hookers that come in and throw, kickers that come in and kick. If they're battling with an injury, they'd come in and do some rehab or whatever it might be, and catch up on homework for the weekend. Thursday is another full day. Friday is lighter, captain's run, and then you play Saturday, and that cycle continues.
Every week.
Yeah, pretty much every week. And we've been slightly fortunate this year. I think the South African teams didn't have Europe, so next year obviously you're adding in more. I think at times you try to break them up some different things, but the reality is there's a certain body of work to get through, like any other job, that's the nature of it, really, to be honest.
No, I'm looking at the engineer across from me, and the perspiration is beginning to come out on his forehead. Okay, we have to wrap it up. I know Pat and Jim won out. Do you ever wonder why Croke Park does not facilitate for All Ireland final weekend?
Probably,
I believe it is important factor in facilitating players who are open to nervous
energy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, Noel, I've heard about you, and at long last we've had the pleasure. Great interview, haven't we?
Yeah. Lovely interview. And listen, we wish.
Thanks for having me.
My wife's cousin. First cousin is Ross Maloney, and poor Ross.
Oh, fantastic!
I coached
Ross.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
And his dying wish is to get one cap, and he's hoping he'll get it this year.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he will or not.
Well, he's had a fantastic year.
He had a good year.
He was very unlucky not to be involved in the end of season tour, I think.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the autumn internationals.
Okay, no, it's been a pleasure. Have a good summer.
Thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
You're listening to Scariff Bay Community Radio, and this is Saturday Chronicle. I would like to thank our sponsors, James M. Nash & Co. and Derg Kitchen Design. We are here in O'Callaghan's Mills. We're in the community centre in O'Callaghan's Mills, having a great morning, great chats this morning. That was Out the Gap with a selection of reels. Pat, some of them are from around here, aren't they?
Well, they're just up there. They're from Tulla. Most of them are from Tulla. Yeah, the McNamara's are involved in it, and they have a group there. Breedie McNamara's son and daughter are in it.
Yes.
They have a few musicians from Kilmorey as well, so they're locals from around the
I
area.
know. Well, they have fabulous music altogether.
You felt like dancing yourself. Did
I
you?
did, except I'm tied up with headphones and microphones and whatnot. Okay, listen, we're delighted to be joined. Our next guest this morning is from the St. Joseph Secondary School in Tulla, and that's Rita McInerney. Rita, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Listen, it's great to have you. It's been a great year for St. Joseph's.
It's been a fabulous, unbelievable year for St. Joseph's. And I suppose this time last year, who would have thought? We never imagined. I'm sure the mentors, the three boys, always knew they had a great crop of players and worked very well with them.
Yeah.
But I suppose
You're never sure.
You're never sure, and I suppose there was two things I suppose they knew they had a great crop of players, but it's one thing to have everything and yet to take advantage of the opportunities. But I suppose the big thing then was with COVID, whether the competition would even go ahead.
Yes.
Which would be a huge missed opportunity,
That's right, because 2 years ago, I think, they got to the semi-final where Flannans beat them, isn't that right?
Yeah,
I think we commentated on that.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing just stopped.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a for everybody in society, it's been a very tough time. So this came at a great time. I suppose last summer, Sister Bosco Griffin, who was a great mentor in our school, passed away, and when we came back in September, we felt that loss. And then some of our boys had huge personal loss in September. So,
yes.
The start of the year, but with their friends and their communities, rallied in and helped them to
and I suppose
that time. And
Rita, outside of the sport element of it and the hurling element of it, it's something like this gives the school a great lift, and by the school I mean the staff, the pupils, the parents, everybody associated.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like as the journey progressed, I suppose it's no more than Patrick getting in touch and inviting me on today. Like, that shows the great support of the community for our school that you'd even consider to bring us on here. But the whole community, like, it was a whole school movement. Everybody in the school was involved. The whole parish, the whole community, the whole of East Clare. I think Brian Torpy referenced it like a murmuration,
Yes, yes. Yeah.
It was just a huge movement. It was just amazing, the support. And I suppose that's the thing about community, isn't it? You get support when you need it for the lows, and then the support comes on board for the highs as well. And
does it say something about the importance of extracurricular?
Oh, for sure.
In the education world.
Absolutely, John. Yeah. It's a huge thing. It's the whole person, and it's about providing an environment for students to flourish at all different levels. Like, school doesn't suit everybody.
Yeah.
The academics, for some students coming into school, the books are so difficult, so this gives people an opportunity. And we've such a wide range of things. There's something for everybody there, in the range of sports, and there's public speaking and debating, there's everything, But it's that, I suppose, that care that students show for each other. It's that sense of compassion to each other and community. Like, it's huge.
Jim, have you seen the lovely grounds layout in the school in Tulla?
Yes, anytime we drive through, it's absolutely
magnificent.
I mean, you can tug out if you like in the school, and 10 seconds later you can be out on the pitch playing camogie or whatever it is. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I imagine that has given the school a great lift as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it really is fantastic. And to have your own pitch and you can have other schools coming into play, and I suppose I was involved with camogie, and all the local parishes were fantastic to support us, but you'd be going out in the wintertime begging for a pitch, and it was difficult.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. You have your pitch there for training. Like, we've had teams training in the morning before school. We have teams training after school over the holidays. It's just
So you don't have teachers complaining about Mickey Joe is again gone off to play a match in Ballydehob, you know?
Yeah,
or
well,
something.
even from the students and from a teacher's point of view, like, you know, before every match you were travelling, so it was very, you know, the whole day was gone. Whereas now,
It's a problem, actually.
it is, a
isn't
problem.
it?
Yeah, it is. Whereas now you go out and you have your match and you're back into the classroom again, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
I suppose when we as a radio station talk about community, we're not talking about any particular parish, we're talking about the wider East Clare community where we broadcast to. And it's a bit similar with Tulla, because you bring in pupils from a number of parishes.
Absolutely.
You know, and I suppose you probably felt, as you mentioned earlier, the support and everything that you got from the wider East Clare community.
Yeah, huge, yeah. Like all the surrounding parishes, but it wasn't just even the parishes, as you say, it was the whole of East Clare, like the whole county. And I suppose even from afar, the fact that we were underdogs, you know, I suppose everybody likes to see people achieving, you know, against the elite, I suppose. And, you know, I suppose our boys got to a point through working with our mentors where they started to believe that they could do it, and they got in there and they knew they could compete, and not only compete but defeat the elite. And
so it didn't start.
Belief.
It didn't start. Let's say this year.
Oh gosh, no.
No. Where are the roots?
Well, I started in Tulla in September '94. And John Stack, Michael McMahon, Seamus Brehan, Micheál Dinan, they were all the teachers there, and they used to talk hurling, and they talk about Harty, talk about playing Harty. And I, coming from Leinster and not being Harty, you know, I thought Harty was the All Ireland, but I mean it has that prestige and that reverence, like it's so back as far as then. So that dream has been nurtured the whole way through. You know, it's always, you know, people have been. It's not just on the field, as we know. It's on the field. You know,
we'd have to win the Harty over in Scariff.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
In recent years, Terence and Tomas Kelly have put in a huge amount of work.
Oh, absolutely huge, Pat. You know the lads went through, and
my lads
absolutely, yeah. So this has been going on for years, like the hours and the time, and it's not just. There's a lovely article, I know we'll talk about the book later, written by a past colleague of ours, Declan Spellman, about coaches, and I think every coach of every discipline and every teacher in the country, I'd say, could relate to it, because it talks about it's fine on the good days and the days that you win, but if you were only doing it for the days you win, you wouldn't do it at all. You know,
of course.
Yeah.
Very wise.
So the hours that have gone in to the training, to the preparation, you know, the nighttime phone calls, the planning. You know, huge amount.
But you were talking earlier to you, in response to you, Jim, Rita was talking about the impact it had on the culture and is having on the culture of the school. Okay, positive. It's positive all the way. We had the next best thing to the Arty would be the Dean Ryan, and we were lucky enough, as you will remember, we were lucky enough to beat Flannan's in the final of that. It was an extraordinary situation that two Clare schools should meet in the final of that Dean Ryan.
Yes.
And so I understand very, very well where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
You know, and I certainly can see this being born out of the experience of the past 12 months for you.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful.
Well, the name of it, making dreams a reality. The sort of subheading.
That's the book.
Is just fits in exactly with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Tell us about the book.
So I suppose we had our journey and the excitement of it, and I suppose, you know, it impacted so many of us so strongly in so many ways. And one of my colleagues then, Donna Fitzgerald, she rang one evening and said, you know, I have an idea. I think we need to do something with this. And she'd spoke to Terence Fahey, and he was of the same mind that we need to gather this together someplace and have it, you know, that I suppose our memories fade.
They do.
And even
I
back
can tell
to,
you
say,
they
the
do.
1981 and the 1982, you know, and you were trying to gather information, and people were great. We got great help from past pupils and past staff, and, you know, gathering information. But so Donna then was she gathered a kind of a number of us together. I think it was 7 of us together, got a committee going, and it took off then, you know, and we were very open to ideas coming in. If somebody had an idea, especially from the 3 lads, you know, from Terence, Tomas and Aidan, they were our go-to people on it as well. And it's more the history, I suppose it's the hearty history in the school. There's many a player that dons the school colours that mightn't feature in that book. because it's there about different people that were woven into the journey of St. Joseph's and that were very strong in, I suppose, inspiring.
It all happened very quickly, didn't it? I mean,
but is this going back the years now? Or this year?
How do you mean?
No, the people who were woven into the story.
Well, I suppose John Stack there's an article there, and written by a former colleague, Declan Spellman, and you know, as I mentioned, Sister Bosco Griffin earlier, a past pupil of ours. This current of, I'm going to say 20. He was a great inspiration to the group because even having left school, he came back to their matches, you know, and I suppose the lads saw his resilience and his spirit, you know, and there's a lot of that. I suppose the book is more than just a chronicle of hurling. There's a lot of spirit in it. There's a lot of emotion in the book.
We're just before you come in, we spoke to Noel.
Yeah, Noel's a past pupil of St. Joseph's as
yes,
well. Yeah,
that's right. He was saying that. But, I mean, what he was talking about in terms of rugby was, you know, the skill is only a small part of it, or a certain part of it. Obviously, skill is necessary, but it's the character and the willingness to work and that. And I mean, and he also mentioned about, you know, the correlation between success in terms of making it on teams and success in academics. Is there, you know, you're talking about moulding a group of players or a group of students with building their character.
Absolutely, yeah. And this has been huge for this group of students, you know. I suppose it's that realisation that when you work hard and when you're dedicated and you commit, the power of that, especially as a group, you know, the unity and the power of a group. And then, you know, supported by community.
Can we look at, for a minute, at the impact which the beautiful building and interior facilities has provided you with? I mean, you had the experience of, you know, the old buildings.
Absolutely.
How has the architecture, we'll call it, the new architecture, which is the secondary school in Tulla, how has that impacted on you and your colleagues and on the students?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'll have to say, John, to start that when I started over in the old building, I have a lot of very happy memories and very, very, you know, from the time I arrived there, there's a great welcoming spirit. And I suppose one of the biggest challenges we always felt was to bring that with us. You know, sometimes to a new building, it could be clinical, whatever. But I really do feel that it's the spirit. The spirit has come with us across, and I suppose that's the most important thing. I think the building is secondary to that, because I think if you don't have that spirit, that welcome, that compassion, that sense of community, like, you know, the building could be very hollow. But in terms of the building itself, then I suppose it's clean, it's bright, it's spacious, you know,
it's
and
beautiful.
The facilities. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And it's a privilege. Like, it's great to have that facility, and it's also a busy spot now.
Yes.
You know.
Do you engage with the community?
A lot. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
In what ways?
Well, I suppose we have. I suppose the one thing that comes to mind straight away would be the older, I shouldn't say older, the maybe retired citizens come in and work with our transition year group. Now, obviously there was challenges with that over the last 2 years as well, but I mean, that's a huge thing for the community and for our students. Because I suppose years ago, you know, often in houses there was maybe an older grandparent in the house, or, you know, that's not as common now. So, you know, that's a lovely thing for young people to be able to work with and communicate with.
Yeah. You say transition year. I mean, is it integrated into the transition year program, this communication with the adult, with the older people, the seniors?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then we have Goshka programs and things running in the school. So Goshka, there's 3 levels: bronze, silver and gold. And said for each of them, you do an hour of community involvement. So our students would go out and get involved in their community. And we've had feedback different times from Tidy Towns, from Scouts, from different groups, that they're so delighted to have our students on board, helping out, be it with underage, handball, hurling, you know, the different aspects. So from that point of view, and actually just speaking about Goshka, we had a group of past pupils who are now in college, and they've gone on to achieve their gold Goshka this summer. They went out probably 2 weeks ago now, I suppose, and they walked the Camino for a week. They walked
Oh, very good.
117 kilometres in the sky-high temperatures in
Well,
Spain.
you weren't with them.
I
yet.
wasn't.
You know, because Tulla is a growing community as well. A lot of new construction in Tulla at the moment.
That's right.
And I mean, and your school has.
Do you have any sense of that the place could grow a little bit larger than we want it to?
So far, John, I suppose 400 or 500, you'd think to 700, you know, would it become more impersonal? It is more challenging. Definitely with larger year groups, it is definitely more challenging to get to know the students, but you just have to work a little bit harder at it. You know, just a bit more energy into, I suppose, making sure that you new staff is fantastic, and that in itself, of course, gives more opportunities to our students.
Yes.
So,
And I suppose, Rita, now with the new school and the fact that you wouldn't have to, you will probably have maybe people from further out. We might send our kids to Torah.
yeah.
We
And
don't,
it's
we don't
difficult,
want
Pat,
we don't
because
want too much of that happening.
stealing from our neighbours. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I suppose in the last 3 years, 4 years,
The expansion, forgetting about the school and all that for a moment, the expansion of the population is the town of Tulla. Houses or 60 houses or 30 houses, you know. Will that squeeze? And does something get lost in the process?
yeah, I suppose. Look, it's all going to be in the living of it, John, isn't it? I know the soccer club. You know, there's a lot of very strong, active, very inclusive clubs in Tulla.
Good.
You know, and there's a huge amount of volunteerism in the community, as there is in the local community.
Yes.
Like a lot of our young people here would be involved, let's say, with Tulla soccer.
Athletics.
The athletics as well, absolutely. Yeah, lovely new development there as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose important investment in that whole area too, you know.
Kind of to talk about the book and everything, but I mean, there's a lot more than hurling, as you've told us,
In the book,
in the book and in the school.
Yes,
And
for sure.
listen, we wish you first of all every success with the book
Thank you very much.
and ongoing with the school,
Yeah.
and
Thanks very
hopefully
much, Jim.
we'll, as a radio station, we'll build up our relations with the school and see what what we can bring that you want.
Yeah, and
with
thanks very
us.
much, as I said, because it's part of that whole community support that you even invite me on
Oh,
today
it's a pleasure.
as a representative of the school and to promote our book and just let people know if people would like to get a copy of it. It's in the local shops, it's in the local area.
And it costs 20.
It's €20.
20
euro.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Rita McInerney, many thanks for coming in to us this morning on
Thank
Saturday
you very
Chronicle.
much. Yeah.
We forgot to ask her, how did you end up here in Tulla? You're from Kildare, yeah?
I'm from Carlow.
Carlow.
Affairs of the Heart, John.
Le Fair de Coeur.
Affairs of the Heart. I met a Clare man and fell in love.
We're not going to go into, what marquee did you meet him in, or okay?
Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
So we have Out the Gap there again, the second showing this morning with a selection of jigs. And as Pat said earlier, they're from the locality here of East Clare. Pat, you have another guest, a very special guest for us this morning.
We have Ali Burns. Ali is from Innes, and he has a selection of books written over the years. He's a journalist, and he has an amount of books written. And his latest one is on Jimmy Smith. So you're welcome, Ali, to the programme.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks very much.
We just brought you out to have a chat about Jimmy Smith and the book. And I was at the launch of the book there back it was on St. Patrick's Day, and there was a great crowd there, a great crowd of former hurlers and players and a lot of GA people there. So it was a great evening. So you might tell us all about the book and about getting it going.
Well, the launch was organised by Michael Slattery, and he did a great job at the Temple Gate. And I first met Jimmy Smith on local radio in Ennis. I used to run a station called West Coast Radio.
West Coast?
West Coast Radio, yes, yeah.
We remember it, too.
Do you
An unlicensed radio.
Unlicensed, yes. But we did a lot of music, all music, but we had a Saturday morning sports programme, and we brought in a lot of Clare hurlers in the past. John Joe Doyle and Hawley Daly, Jimmy Smith, Dolan O'Grady, Pascal O'Brien, or just some I remember, who came in to talk about their careers. And so then that was prior to Clare FM, and naturally we applied for the licence, and we didn't get it, but that's another story. And that was 1989, and Clare FM began broadcasting. But that's when I first met Jimmy Smith, and I interviewed him at his home in Clontarf in 1995, and we got on great. And he continued to write to me, and he launched Against the Wind with Gerard Nan, and he launched a couple of other books as well over the years, Heroes Without Laurels and things like that. So I found him very easy to deal with and talk to, and he was always very helpful. So I'm delighted to have compiled this book on his career. It's not a biography, it's to do with what he did on the pitch.
Yes, because Jimmy Smith was a legend, Ali. I mean, I remember as I'd say 5 or 6 year old over in Tulla and Scariff playing against Rouen, and Jimmy Smith hits the ball from about 30 yards out, and all you see is the net rattling. Yeah. I mean, he was a fantastic player.
Yes, I was lucky to see him in QG Park. We went to games irrespective of who was playing, you know. And I was brought to games, but my parents were big into hurling, and I was at the Rouen 6 Mile Bridge final in '62. Was probably the first county final I was at. And he was just, if you got a 21-yard free or 30-yard free, he just buried it.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Ali, Rouen, I have a memory. And there's a photograph here of Christy Ring, Jimmy, and the third person was
John Doyle.
John.
Yeah.
Mm.
Am I correct in my memory of this? A friend of myself headed off down to Rouen because Christy Ring was going to tug out. There was an intercounty kind of. Am I right in that regard?
That's right. It was while Christy was long retired, he had these exhibition games.
Yeah.
And when the reopened Rouen in '71, his team was invited to play a clear selection of the Jimmy Smith era. Now, Jimmy, in fact, had actually also played with the Christy Ring selection in various other matches, but Jimmy captained the Clare team, and I think Dr. Bill O'Nan was the selector.
Yeah,
it was a marvellous occasion. I was at it. I was at it.
You were younger than I was now. Okay.
A couple of years ago. And I remember going to it vividly. And after the game, there was a well-known barber known as called Des McCullough, and Des brought me over to introduce me to Jimmy Smith and John Doyle and Nacy Jordan, Jerry Ryan and so forth, and some of the opposition as well. So I got a lot of autographs, and it's just a great memory. 6th of June 1971.
I can remember it well. You know, I was living in Scariff at the time.
It was a special day, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But Jimmy Ring, Christy Ring was thought of, we'd say, in Cork, and he was the man up there. But you had Mick Mackey and then but Jimmy Smith. I remember when I was only a small fella, and everyone talked about Jimmy Smith.
Yeah,
the strength of him and his hurling and that. And he played for 4 years with the Clare Miners. He went on the Clare Minor team at 14.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Had he a brother?
He had three brothers, Gerard, Michael and Kevin, and they all played for Rowan. Kevin actually played for Clare senior matches quite a lot in the early 60s.
Was he in UCG?
He probably was, yes.
And played in the Fitzgibbon?
I'd say so. I'm not 100% sure, but he went to England. He probably would have played senior championship if he had stayed in...
Oh, was he an engineer? Or
no, I think he was
teacher,
yes.
Yeah.
He's
I remember him too.
The youngest of the Smiths, but the four of them played for Rowan.
Yeah.
You know, in between the two different eras.
Was that a big era for Rowan?
It was. They were solid between 48 and 63, when say, but they had two particular eras, 48, 52, and then 59, 62. But in the meantime, they were very strong as well.
Yeah.
They were competitive. But they won 5 championships in those years.
My God.
It was a fantastic era.
I tell you what,
you've written a lot of sports books. I mean, you have obviously a fantastic interest in sport, maybe in hurling in particular, but in other sports as well. How many books have you written?
12.
Yes.
10 on hurling, and I did. I set out to do one, and it gets into that one there. That's the fact. And then I was working on the book on Ennis, and St. Flannan's approached me to do their history, which is Blue is the Colour.
Yes.
And I was never in Flannans, so it was kind of daunting. And then later on I did a book on in the CBS. And
keep everyone happy.
Well, I went to win the CBS, and so
yes.
I was delighted to do that. And but I did a book on Every United Soccer Club.
Yes,
I'm from that area of Ennis, around the hospital.
Yes,
and they were very successful, still are. And so music is my thing, really.
Yes,
above anything.
What instrument is yours?
Oh, I don't play any instrument. No, I'm a listener.
Well, were you involved in the collection that was reported in the Champion about 2 weeks ago? The collection of songs in County Clare.
No.
A bit like Quivno and Clore, a bit like that, except it is related to the ballad and the significance of the ballad in the culture of a place.
No,
Have you something else coming up at the moment? Are you working on another project?
I'm working on a book on music in Ennis, which would be Ennis and the environs, from the building of Paddy Con's Hall in the 1950s, the new hall, right to the present day, bringing in Irish traditional music, the beginning of Coltis in 51, right up along Hopefully Dina's Trad Festival, the various other musical genres, rock and everything, some jazz, and the Ennis Musical Society. But trying to put it all together, the Ennis Brass Band, anybody who ever got up on stage, really. But it's quite a daunting task to get it together and to put it into sort of a situation where it's readable.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and there is a great tradition of music in Ennis, as you say, the Ennis Musical Society, and the traditional side of it as well.
Well, traditional since the 50s, they had the Flan 56, and again in 77, when they had a very strong branch of Coltis in the town. And if you think about it, really, if it wasn't for Coltis, traditional music might have really died out.
Yes,
If you take it in the 70s, you had a situation in 51 where Irish music was at death's door. And in 1978, the Botti Band were playing live in Paris, in Germany, and bringing Irish music to foreign audience. It was an extraordinary. I'm not giving all the credit to Coltis, but if it wasn't for them.
Yes. You had the Chieftains in China. And
yes. And Planksty in England. And I do know they did on a Stockton swing. You know what I mean?
What about the brass and reed? The origin of those because in the 19th century, a lot of smaller settlements had bands they wheeled out for celebration or protests that lead. Would you be dealing with any of that?
Hopefully, the Innes Brass Band and hopefully the Innes Temperance.
Yes, the temperance movement was a factor, wasn't it?
Yes,
yeah. And that's where the church came into it, promoting it. In order to cut back on the consumption of alcohol.
Yes, there was a very strong temperance band in Innes. I was lucky to meet a lot of old Innes natives, and they used to talk about the Innes temperance band. I just come back now to about 1910.
Yeah,
but there would be, as you say, wheeled out. Obviously, 1914.
Yes.
And for any kind of a situation, they came out and they did their thing.
Yeah.
And the brass band, I mean, they've been synonymous with county finals, the same as the Tulla pipe band.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of county final day, and so there's a huge.
It'll be a good story.
But how to get it in, all in.
When do you hope to get that?
Maybe next April, March, April. I was hoping for this year, but wouldn't be possible.
Yes, yeah.
And that's because you see, you also need to have people in the inside, like for example, in the Strat Festival, that would give us their take on it,
Yes, yeah.
Jim, you mentioned a license to me, a difficulty in getting a license, radio license, by the way, we're talking about. And this strange radio that was operating.
Yes, because I think we might have met at some stage, Ali.
Yeah.
I know that I was involved with a group called Clare People's Radio, who was looking for the same license that you were, and neither of us got it. But
why?
Well, we won't go into that too much.
The full program for that chat.
It'd have to be another program for that. Yeah.
No,
getting a license.
We were like you. I was always interested. We didn't have a radio station in Scariff. We had a TV station once upon a time where we broadcast unlicensed TV.
Well, we started about 1984, very small time in a back room, and it wouldn't have been very professional initially, but we got better and better, and we got a much better room to broadcast from. We actually had 2 or 3 studios in Innes in 1987, 88, and we tried to get the license. We remember we approached Ray Burke, the minister, through legal people, and at that stage we were bringing in better people who were better to produce and to present, and we weren't fully baked, but we were getting there, and we had a good shot at it,
Yes. Yeah.
And like yourself, I remember being at one of your get-togethers in Fecal.
Yes.
That was about 1988, and Father Gagan was involved. Am I right in saying that?
You were, and there was a man called Timmy Ryan, who was
a
teacher in Flannans at the time. Yes.
And there was another group from Milltown who also put in a bid, and then Clare Farm, and it was 4.
Yeah, that's right.
But
why were you refused?
I honestly don't know. We had a very good. We brought in Brendan Vaughan from.
I know Brendan.
And Brendan was our chairman.
Yeah.
We had Donald Lanchik, who introduced the whole thing in Oscuelga.
Yes.
So we had
all the headings.
We had quite a professional. I spoke, and we had photo speakers, and Justice Hinchy was the presiding justice over the whole thing.
Yes.
And it was kind of daunting because there was an open forum.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I wasn't at the presentation. No.
You had maybe 100, 200 people could come in Jurors Hotel, and we had a half an hour. Everybody had a half an hour, and we were the last on, 12 o'clock to 12:30, and you had 30 minutes to get her across. So It's, as you said, it's for another day.
It is for
It's for
another. Yeah, we'll manufacture another day for this.
Yeah.
We will indeed. Yeah, we will indeed.
Ali, we had a great night in Minogues when this book was launched. The hurling captains, and there's a great read. All the captain, every hurling captain that Captain Clare at senior level from back to the start up to now as well. And there's Ali, and I'll take a small bit of credit from a bit with myself, John. I don't know.
Fair play.
I don't know if you'll get to that.
Yes,
we
very
had
good.
6 or 7 guests, and again, it was Nancy Jordan's idea, and Donald Lanchik was involved, and we got it together. And it's the book. It's probably one of my favourites.
Yeah,
It's beautifully presented, actually, and that's. I'm not taking credit for that. That's the production people.
Yes,
but it's a nice one, you know.
Of your books there now, and there's a selection of the hurling books in front of us on the table. Are many of those still in print and available in the shops?
There's one Clear Voices, which is a book of interviews that is available. The Jimmy Smith book is gone.
Is it?
Completely gone. I'd love to do it, but it's sold out in 2 months.
Yes.
Very good.
Blue is the colour. I have a handful Against the Wind. I think I have one copy apart from my own copy.
Yes.
And Mercer Press did 3,000. Print run of 3,000.
That's good. Very good.
Yeah. So it's sold across the country. The Flannels book, I have a few. Christian Brothers book in the CBS, I have none. And we were talking about Tulla this morning, but Tulla Harty Cup, you know. They're the first team since in the CBS, first non-Flannels team to win the Harty Cup since 1962.
Yes, famous 1962 game. Yes,
which was
Flannels versus the Brothers.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yes,
and we won by a pint.
Yes, that's right.
I just about remember it.
You were the brothers, weren't you?
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I was actually in the. I wasn't even in school at the time. We were in the nuns. We had to go to, you did 2 years of the nuns.
Yes.
And then, because there wasn't any kindergarten in the CBS, and then we went over at 7. So I was about 6.5, and it was a marvellous win. The whole town was behind on us in the CBS.
Of course.
Yeah. You know.
No, I remember I went to Flannels some years later, and I mean, that was legend, that game. You know, people talked about that so much.
It was repeated, wasn't it? Wasn't there another occasion where NSCBS...
There was a semi-final in 71. Yes, I was at that, yes.
Yeah, and the comprehensive Flannels and the comprehensive in Shannon Mission, I have to final.
This is in 89.
89,
that was the 71 game was a huge game in Tulla.
It was, I remember it well.
It fell flat. There was too much pressure.
Yes, that's right.
And it was a huge crowd, about 7,000.
A huge crowd, I remember being at it,
But Flannels got a late goal, and they won it.
Yes.
Well, not well, but they won it.
And lost the final.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it was a great occasion.
Yeah, it was. I remember the crowds there in Tulla. We came out on the bus.
You did.
Listen, we're nearly out of time, Ali. It's been just fascinating talking to you.
My pleasure. Great.
Really has. If somebody is looking for one of the books, they can give you a shout. If they might be lucky
in this bookshop
or in his bookshop.
But as I say, I'm delighted that Jimmy Smith is sold out. I'd love to do maybe down the road a second print if it was worthwhile, you know.
Yeah.
Grand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Ali Burns, lovely to have you, and please God we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
And you have an old thing for radio, Ali. So
I have, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Listen, we're almost out of time. We have about a minute or so left. So just like to again thank our sponsors, James M. Nash & Co. and their kitchen design. Pat, just before we go, listen, first of all, thank you very much for organising this morning. You have a Spencer Hill book in your hand.
I have I have a little pamphlet here that we got at Spencer Hill. Myself and Jim Collins, we travelled to Spencer Hill on Thursday, and we spent a couple of hours there talking to everybody in Spencer Hill.
Everyone that had talked to us.
And just fine.
We had members of the committee, we had judges, and we had dealers, and everyone, and a former Clare hurler, Tommy Keane from Kilmaley, gave us a few words. So that programme will be going out on Sunday week. when it'll be all put together. We've worked
1 o'clock tomorrow week.
1 o'clock tomorrow week. So that's why I just said that to be worth listening to all the different.
Listen, we're about to be shut down. Pat, many thanks.
Thanks,
John S., many thanks. Our guests
You're welcome,
today,
Jim.
Rita McInerney, Noel McNamara, and Joe Cooney. Goodbye and God bless.